people like, oh, yeah, well, when we get in our room and the doors are locked, I kick his ass. And he would say things like, I'll make you my bitch.
Okay.
Whenever,
these guys should definitely not be rooming together.
Just whenever they would have an argument or like they were in public. Fisher seems like a fucking bully.
He seems like a real asshole.
I would like to meet this guy. I'd be like, I'll make you my fucking bitch, right? There's a definite alcohol culture in the military. A 2019 study showed that the military leads all other professions in the number of days spent drinking per year. 43% of active duty members between 18 and 25 are binge drinkers, and that's with 70% of those numbers being heavy drinkers in general.
Yeah, it's almost like college mixed with, like if you have a job in college mixed together. You know what I mean?
The services are definitely, like, there's a drinking problem, and it seems to only be worsening. Like, it's not getting any better. I mean, this is 2019 study.
Wow.
Our story takes place 20 years earlier, so. I mean, it's like this. You get a large number of young people, as you mentioned. Often this is the first time they've ever lived away from home, together with a disposable income, and you're confined to close quarters. Typically, you're on a base, living in a barracks. Most of the junior enlisted folks don't have cars, so there's not a lot to do.
Is it true you can drink after 18 if you join the military?
No.
I thought it was you could drink 18 and up. I think that was true some point, maybe in other countries.
Okay, but not in the U.S.
I mean, serving abroad.
Well, if you're in another country and it's legal, then yeah, if it's legal in France, but not just to be drinking.
Okay.
Anyway, huge alcohol culture, and it seems like there was a lot of this happening at Fort Campbell in this barracks.
Well, this just sounds like a really great environment for trouble.
After the trip to Connections, Fisher starts a rumor about Barry Winchell. He tells others, including their superiors, that Winchell is gay. He explains that he went to this gay bar in Nashville just to pick up another soldier. And while he was there, he spotted Winchell in the bar performing oral sex on another man. Now, there were witnesses who were there that said, that's completely untrue. But like most rumors, true or not, it takes off.
Yeah, so he was there at the bar. So you won't even admit he's there hanging out.
Well, Fisher's the one who took them to the bar.
Yeah, I mean, what a wimp.
Fisher, I should mention, bragged to other soldiers about going to Connections in Nashville. He had been spotted making out with a transsexual woman outside the bar. He had even told others that he had gone to this bar and had been making out with this transsexual performer.
Okay.
Fisher also would later admit that he enjoyed wearing women's lingerie under his clothes and that he had done so since he was about 14.
What the hell, dude?
One night, Winchell woke up to a drunk Fisher, like, rubbing his feet.
Well, he's invading his personal space. And I'm not saying what the hell about him wearing, that's fine. If that's what you want to do you.
It's the hypocrisy.
It's the hypocrisy that kills me.
Fisher immediately played off the foot rubbing and was like, oh, I'm really drunk, man. I don't even know what I was doing. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, like trying to play it off.
Yeah, I never blackout foot rubbed anybody. I mean, really.
As rumors circulated about Winchell, those in charge would ask other soldiers, does anybody want to file a formal complaint about it? Because of the don't ask, don't tell policy, no investigation into Winchell's homosexuality could be launched because first somebody had to file a formal complaint.
Right.
Nobody could directly ask Winchell about his sexuality because of the nature of don't ask, don't tell. But because of this gossip, whispers among the ranks, people started calling Winchell a faggot, a rope sucker, a butt pirate.
A rope sucker?
And a shim, which is like a she/him.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm using these words in relation to the story.
No, but we all know it was a damn 90s and what it was like back then, right?
And everybody would act like it was a big joke.
Yeah.
They would say these things to Winchell and then would laugh and be like, haha, man, we're just kidding.
We're just kidding, Shim.
But Winchell had no recourse. I mean, under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, he couldn't talk about it to anybody. If he brought it up to superiors, it could lead to questions or admissions about his sexuality. And if he had to explain himself, it could be detrimental to his career. He could be dishonorably discharged.
That's why that policy, there's nothing, that's not going to be effective in any form or fashion, honestly.
In
It's crazy.
1999, there were 968 incidences of anti-gay harassment in the military, and that was just what was reported.
How many? Because I was trying to find that. How many in 99?
968.
And that was the ones reported.
Yes.
And who knows how times whatever that really is. That's crazy.
And again, I'm just going to bring this out because, I have my own experiences, and I'm not speaking for others in the military, but my own personal experiences is that there's this certain fear of like violating a code in the military. So if you speak up, you often feel like there's going to be reprisal, like from your chain of command.
Yeah.
There's a toxic culture in the military without accountability, inappropriate behavior, racism, sexism, sexual harassment, discrimination in general. It often goes unreported. And if it is reported, then it's swept under the rug. Bullying, abusive supervision, shaming, indifference, hostility. I mean, it exists, but it's like this really passive, as I said, under the rug, under the radar kind of thing. And leaders will act like they take this strong stance against it, but the reality is not much gets done as long as productivity and performance is high.
Right. Well, I think it sounds like it boils down to they don't want the hassle of dealing with it. And so, like in public, or to reporters, or any statements to the public. Oh yeah, that's not cool. This is all the stuff we're going to do to stop that. But then when it gets down to actually doing something about it, like you said, it just doesn't make it up the chain of command.
And a lot of superiors feel like any report of bad behavior or wrongdoing reflects poorly on the military, their division, them as a leader.
Right.
So often speaking up is discouraged, even if it's in like a silent kind of way.
Yeah, see, I think that's a product of our individualistic nature of our society here in America. Because just right quick, like the concept of suggestion box, right? You're at work or wherever. Any suggestions to make things better for everybody, more cost effective, cool, put it in here. That's a Japanese concept. That's where that was, thought up, if you will. And because they think they're collective, they think about the entire room of people or the entire community. But in America, it's not as effective because the supervisor is not going to give credit to the working guy because he thinks it makes him look bad for either A, not coming up with it, or B, he wants to take credit for it. It's just, that's just, and that's, I think that mentality is what creates all these problems you're listing off.
Well, I don't talk about this very often, but I don't care to talk about it here with you guys. I was sexually assaulted in the military. And, I mean, you know this, Dylan. When I reported it, I was treated like shit.
Like a pariah.
It was my fault. I was going to put this mark. I was told by my chief, you're going to mark our division.
Okay, so they're slut-shaming you.
It was like all my fault.
So it's victim blaming.
They made me feel terrible about it. They made me feel guilty when the other person was punished.
That's all the things you shouldn't do to any victim.
It was terrible.
Yeah, and then you're like you said, it's like a scarlet letter on you now, right?
Well, it was at that particular duty station.
Yeah.
I mean, once I moved on, it was, it wasn't like it followed me.
Right, but that's just so.
But it set the stage for like the rest of my career.
That's wrong on so many levels.
Of feeling like you couldn't speak up. But you know me, I'm not one to hold my tongue.
No, I think that's why we get along together, because neither am I.
Even having felt this way, I still would always advocate for victims and doing what's right. That's just my nature. Like, I'm a very fair, I want justice. I'm a very fair, balanced kind of person. Like, I want things to be, I want a, universal conformity as far as rules go and punishments and how it's doled out and that everyone's treated equally. I mean, that's like really important to me. So, even knowing that nothing would get done about it or that I would get in trouble, I always would just say, this is what's happened, and I didn't care to speak up.
Well, yeah, and see, we're similar in that respect, and we've talked about it before, but that's going to make me speak up even louder. I'm not saying I dealt with the same thing, but just as far as fairness, everyone getting treated the same, no discrimination of any type for any reason, and you're just going to make me speak up louder.
So I'm sure I would bet $100 on it that Winchell probably felt very much the same. He can't talk to anyone. There's this policy in place. He can't report this bad behavior. If he does, they're going to treat him like he's the bad guy, not these other dudes.
Right.
Not the ones who are harassing him, calling him faggot, essentially terrorizing him,
Right.
making the workplace hostile, the environment feel very uncomfortable. I feel sorry for the guy.
Well, I feel sorry. He has no recourse, no support. No, I think sometimes people, or especially the younger people nowadays, don't realize. Now they have plenty of issues they deal with, but as far as support groups or people
Political
thinking,
correctness,
political
and people being more
correctness,
accepting and understanding.
healthy political correctness, and yes, and just and not being afraid to speak out or speak up for yourself. There's still battles being fought today for that very thing as well, but even it blows my mind when I think about when I watch a movie from the early 90s. Let's be honest, even in the movies we enjoy watching again, they talk crazy. They just throw stuff out there that nowadays it would never fly.
Well, this is an epic, in my opinion, and I know that probably doesn't matter because we're talking about this true crime case, and y'all are probably like, okay, get the fuck on with it, but here's the deal. In my opinion, the chain of command, and I'm talking about like the non-commissioned officers who were directly supervisors to Winchell and these other guys, failed. Epic failure.
Yes.
Because if you are an NCO and you are hearing your junior personnel using terms like faggot, rope sucker, I mean, what the fuck is that even? Your responsibility is to be like, no, the buck stops here.
We're not doing that.
Right.
That's not happening.
So the fact that you're just going to let that fly shows me that you're not a very good leader.
So,
hey, Barry Winchell's NCOs, if you're listening, I got some words for you. Call me. On July 4th of 1999, Winchell has an altercation with another soldier named Calvin Glover. Glover was born January 30th, 1981 in Oklahoma. Now, he was known around the base as being a blowhard and a bullshitter by those who knew him in the Army.
A bloviator.
He was the kind of guy who'd do anything for attention, and if he wasn't getting what he deemed as his propers, he would like throw beer bottles around, throw a tantrum.
Oh my God, he must have been a middle child, you reckon? Look at, or only child? Look at me. The spotlight has to be on him. That's very childish.
Don't talk about only children like that. I can't help it. I need all the attention, Dylan.
Yeah, I've had an experience with one.
He was openly racist. He had this Aryan cross on his arm.
Oh, wow. He sounds great.
There was a story about, like, he'd seen another soldier's flight jacket, and there was some sort of patch or emblem on it, and he didn't know that it was, some sort of army, like, symbol. He thought it was, like, some kind of Aryan symbol, and, like, approached the guy like, yeah, man, cool. I don't like Jews either. And everybody was just like, what? And this guy just sounds like a fucking moron. But anyway, he spoke very poorly about Jews and blacks. He praised skinheads.
My God. Soldiers died fighting assholes like that in World War I and II.
Glover was a high school dropout, and he had lots of problems as a juvenile. When he was in school, he'd get in trouble for just pulling dumb pranks. Like, for example, just putting a bunch of toilet paper in the toilet and then, like, clogging the toilets up. And would get into trouble for these things.
Kids that do that grow up into adults that ride on bathroom walls and don't wash their hands. I'm just going to say it like that.
He had a criminal history, burglary, assault, much like Justin Fisher. He went to Job Corps, but he was kicked out of the program. He was known to smoke pot, use meth, huff gasoline.
These are great life choices.
He was in and out of youth facilities. I mean, his parents were constantly, like, putting him into, like, group homes and shit because he was just out of control.
Hey, can you do your bird noise right quick?
Which one?
Just the... Oh my God, it's a shitbird. It's a shitbird descending upon us.
It's an invasion.
Holy shit.
In the Army, there was suspicion of drug use when it came to Calvin Glover. Soldiers reported that he'd gone home on leave, and when he returned, he was boasting that he had 4.5 grams of meth, which they believed because he seemed wired.
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't, if I was using drugs, which drugs are bad, okay, I wouldn't tell anybody. What a dumbass.
And Glover was only in the Army because he had forged some checks, and a judge basically told him, you can go to jail or you can join the Army.
See, I don't even